extremely pumped that he's taken some of his valuable time to be on with us today. Again, little housekeeping, everyone. This is the Big Joel Mortgage Community Call, Mondays, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, 12 Mountain. We do have Mountain people, and of course, 1 Central. A little bit of housekeeping for those of you that haven't been on these calls before. There is a chat. If you have a question, please put it in the chat, and we will definitely get to it. If we're talking about something of relevance, Josh Brown, who's part of my team, will put things in the chat as well for you to either grab links or whatever. Little bit of housekeeping. The 25th, we have a Mortgage Crush group. There are a couple seats in that. We also have Crush Infinity starting. A lot of you all got emails and texts on that. That group is only for Crush graduates. You have to have been in a Crush group to be in that group. That is in response to overwhelming demand to keep going once Crush group ends, for those of you that are not in one-on-one with me. And we also have an agent Crush group starting on that day as well. All that stuff's on the website if you want to see it. So this week, everybody, I'm super lucky to have my friend and serious ass kicker, Brian Minkow. I'm going to let Brian give his exact title because it's an extremely creative, high-level title for someone that's still doing a ton of loans. Brian's with Homebridge. Brian and I met each other. Brian, ready? I'll age you right now. I think it's 11 years ago already we met each other. But Brian has been around a long time. He's an old school grinder. I always love talking to Brian because he's a ground and pound guy. He doesn't cut corners. He got where he is by working really, really hard. Brian is with Homebridge Financial. Brian, tell everyone your exact title.
I'm not really sure. I think it's Producing Divisional Vice President, something like that.
There you go. Brian is in Southern California. Brian, are you in Encino? Where are you?
No. I'm in a city called Westlake Village, California.
Westlake.
Like, like in Calabasas area.
Got it. Okay, excellent. So Brian's on the other side of the hill in Southern California. Brian, when did you get in the mortgage business?
I started in the mortgage business in 1998.
There you go. All right, 1998. So I only got him by a couple of years. Brian, if you don't know Brian's name, you obviously don't look at the Scotsman's Guide, or you haven't been looking for years and years, because Brian is perennially at the top of the list. He has been forever. He's an old school relationship guy. Brian, what I like to ask everyone to start, because it's the subject that everyone's talking about, is everyone's talking about inventory. And I know that we don't need to get into what your production is. You're crushing numbers. But I've been asking every loan officer or every producer on here, are there any things that they're doing different? How are you handling this crazy inventory market where, you have 12 offers, 15 offers, 18 offers, where you have these crazy escalators, waived appraisals, basically waiving everything. I like to ask in two parts. What are you doing on your end, you and your team, as far as for pre-qualifying and making sure your borrowers are ready? And then also, what are you doing with your agent partners? Everyone, Brian has lots of agent partners. Those of you that are in my system, Brian's got a very robust platoon and an extremely big company of agent partners. Brian, that's just my terminology for the deep relationships where you're getting basically hard steer everything. So take the floor, Brian. Tell me what you're doing with your people, what you're doing internally with this multiple offer, and then tell me if you're doing anything interesting with agents you'd love to share.
Right. So, obviously right now, the entire market everywhere is just absolutely insane. Although, in Southern California, it's obviously something I have absolutely ever. What I will tell you, what I'm doing is, up front is, I'm getting them completely approved every way. Every step of the way, they're completely approved up front. That way they can release their loan. their appraisal, their home inspection. I mean, these people are going nuts. And, you know, the only way that you can really handle that is you got to make sure that they're completely approved. You can't have any hiccups, because these people are releasing $20, $30, $80,000 up front. And if you are not ready, you're going to have a problem.
So Brian, I want to unpack that, because I know what you mean, and people on here know what I mean when I'm ranting and raving and screaming and yelling, but that doesn't mean people are doing it. Brian, humor me and explain the word completely approved. When you know what that means to me, that means no conditions from underwriting except for the appraisal, assuming there is an appraisal.
Right. So yeah, I mean, that's what we are basically running them through underwriting with everything imaginable: tax return, pay stubs, assets, LOEs, everything up front, so that, and the other thing is, you've got to make sure that you qualify them for the maximum, because what happens here is, if they go in and purchase a, you know, $800,000 house and they actually wind up paying $875,000, you got to make sure that they're qualified for the max. Plus, interest rates are going like this every day: up an eighth, down a quarter, up a quarter. If you're qualifying them so lean at like a 49% back in ratio, and the interest rate goes up an eighth, now they're at 51, and you guys are hosed, right? So you got to really do so much more work up front to make sure. And what's also helpful is, in Southern California, most realtors know who I am. So once my client makes an offer, I call the listing agent and I say, look, these people are done. They're approved. They're ready to go. There's no conditions, blah, 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 blah. And you'd be surprised how many offers are accepted when there are 20 offers on one house.
Brian, you know, I have been, I don't want to say laughed at, but sort of turned their head and smiled at me for years with newer loan officers when I've said, qualify a half above, qualify 3/4 above. And they're like, they kind of look at me like I'm a dinosaur or something. I'm like, you just have never seen the market move. Your job, your client is the agent, not the borrower. Your job is to protect the agent's commission. You qualify someone that tight and it moves, and then you have to tell them, oops, your contract is gone now. You're toast. I mean, you just used the word toast, but I mean, you're dead in the water. So you just heard Brian Minkow. Brian, I'm not putting you on the spot, but how many purchase loans you closed last month, ballpark?
So I handled 145 loans. I think it was about a 74% purchase. So
okay, so Brian closed over 100 purchase units last month. Okay, and he's qualifying everybody over. Brian, what's your normal? Are you a half over to be safe? Are you?
I go roughly about a 3/8 higher than what the actual interest rate is.
And how high? And do you have percentages, just to get super tactical, because you're such a purchase money animal? Do you have percentages? Like, you look at something, you know they're looking for 700. Do you automatically pre-qual them to 770? You know, they think they're putting 20% down. Are you showing them an 85 with lender paid MI immediately? Like, what are your sort of rules for the pre-qual?
So I mean, obviously, each loan has its own animal, right? It's its own hair, right? So you got to kind of say to them, hey, if the sales price is going to be 800, and let's say the value's coming in at 760, do you have the ability that you can go get $40,000 from somebody? Your mom, your dad, your uncle, your 401k, whatever. If they say no, I'm freaking tapped. Then you got to look at, all right, do I do a first and a HELOC? Do I do MI? What do I do? I mean, up until about 45 days ago, I was doing the actual Fannie Mae EMI. Well, that's gone. Now, so you got to figure out whether you do a HELOC or you do MI, and you kind of go up the money that they don't have. You kind of, figure out, all right, so if the appraisal comes in 50,000 light, how you work it.
Yeah. And everyone on this call, Brian, I've had, with the exception of JP last week, John Palmiato, who's not actively, originating loans right now. I've had a bunch of I always have great originators on here, and every single one of them has been talking about the extra amount of work that they're doing up front to prep the borrowers, to make sure that the borrowers are ready. And I just want to tell you, if you're a loan officer on here right now and you're not doing that at the pre-qual, you're insane, and someone like Brian Minkow will take your business. You're going to lose your business, because all you got to do is blow up one transaction when the agent's written 72 different offers, and their hourly rate's about 10 cents an hour at this point, and then you blow it up because, ready? Not that the borrower's not qualified. You didn't explain it to them, and they're freaking out about their payment or about their LTV or whatever it is. They're losing it. They lose it on the agent, and the agent loses the transaction. Brian, that has been a common theme. So let me flip right to the agent. What are you doing? Are you and your team doing anything special with your agent partners to just help them through this, besides being a psychologist or being a shrink for them? Because I know they're all freaking out.
Yeah. So right now, we currently work with around 600 realtors right now. Some do, 1, 2, 3 transactions annually. Some do 50, right? But what we do is the same thing. Is we hold the realtor full process up front, and then the realtor calls me and says, okay, I'm going to write an offer. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to do a 21-day escrow. I'm going to do no loan. I'm going to do no appraisal. Can I do it? How can I do it? Blah, 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 blah. So I'm almost kind of writing the offer for them up front. And I'm telling them what to do, how much to do, how long, all those things, because they don't know. They're like, oh my God, there's 40 offers, So you have to make your realtor write the most competitive offer up front, because when there's 40 offers, your offer's gotta go to the top of it and go, oh wow, I like that offer. Right?
Now, those of you that are listening to Brian thinking, well, I couldn't do that with my agent partners, let me just let you know. Brian did not wave a magic wand and that happened. Brian didn't say, oh, my last name's Minkow. And are you pounding a monster right now still, 10 years later?
I am.
Yeah. And so and he didn't just say, my name is Minkow and you're going to listen to me. Okay, there's a lot of hard work that went into that. And the first time I met Brian in California, it was great. He was coming in to talk to this group of rookies. Brian, there's like 6 of them left that are banging and doing really well from the whole program. Yeah, I'll tell you who they are offline or whatever, and doing like really, really well, like $100 million a year. Well,
nice.
Brian came in, and of course, nobody really knew who he was, and I was just making fun of Brian with his monster. I don't know if you guys can hear. The reason you're having audio problems is because Brian keeps banging on the desk, which I love, because that's kind of like my move. He's getting excited. But so Brian sat down and someone said, Brian, what's your secret? Like, what's the secret sauce? And I thought it was one of the greatest answers ever. And I say it all the time, and I always quote him. He goes, no, it's nothing like real secret or anything. I just work 8 hours a day. And everyone was like, yeah, okay. And he's like, no. Like, I work for 8 hours a day. Like, I work all 8 of the hours, like every minute of every hour, every day. And they were all kind of looking at him. And then I remember you had to kind of expand, because they couldn't like wrap their arms around that, because most loan officers work like 2 hours a day, maybe like 2.5 hours a day. They'll say they've been working for 12 hours, but they were eating donuts and hanging out on the phone and playing Angry Birds and yelling, doing whatever they're doing. But they weren't really working on their business and in their business for 8 hours. And I guarantee you, if you did that, your volume would eventually get where Brian's volume is, because most people can't and won't do that. So Brian, talk a little bit about, you know, your work ethic through this market. I mean, I know that you work hard, but just share with everyone, you know, a lot of times, Brian, people like you, I got to be careful with guys like you because people will turn off. They're like, I can't do 100 loans. I'm not going to listen to that guy. You know, there's no way. I can't. That guy's an animal. He's a unicorn. You know, I got shunt bonosianitis, right? I can never be him. I'm not going to listen, right? No, he's a hard worker. You're a hard worker. So I love people to hear that there's no magic wand. Tell people about your work ethic through this market, through COVID. We've been very fortunate, the business we're in. It's almost, I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm almost embarrassed. Like, I don't want to say, you know, to my friends that maybe they had a little bit of a harder time through this, you know, because we've been fortunate, right? It's
extremely fortunate. I mean, look, normally what I do is I'm in the office probably around, you know, 5:30 a.m. And I work. I mean, it's really funny, like what you said, Joel. I mean, you know, I actually work and I'm on the phone, I'm on my emails, I'm calling people back, and I'll stay to the office till probably 7 at night. And, you know, I'm just working. I mean, you know, during this pandemic, I'm in a, you know, 8,000 square foot office, and I've got 35, employees, and I was the only one here every day for like 9, 10, 11 months. Like I would literally come to the office, nobody was here. I'd work all day, all by myself. And then it's at, you know, 7, I'd go, all right, well, time to go home. And I just go home. But I mean, it was fortunate that in the mortgage business, everybody thought, oh, we can't be paperless and we got to be in the office and we got to do all these things. And then as soon as the pandemic hit, wow, everybody's paperless, everybody's working from home. It was wild. But I mean, it kind of taught everybody that, hey, you can do this from home. And, you know, half of them are working from home now. They're like, hey, I like it here. I like to be home. I'm like, okay, do what you want. I mean, as long as you're productive and you're doing the work, it's fantastic. But I mean, during the pandemic, especially when the market just went like this and the interest rates went like this, you just got to go that extra mile. You just got to make sure that the client is fully aware of what's going through the process, how the process works, what we're going to get, how we're going to get it. Because what also happens is sometimes the buyer is like, oh, I'm not going to, that laundry list, I'll do that later. And I go, okay, adios, because I don't have time to work with, you're not going to provide. So as soon as the buyer says that, I call their realtor and I say, oh, that one, I'm done. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, I'm not working with them. Because if it's not important to them, then it's not important to, you know, me. I got a house. I like my house. You know, they don't have a house, right? So, you know, you definitely have to motivate the buyer so they understand what kind of market it is also.
You know, Brian, I've been saying this for a while. This is the first time since I've been in the business, just a little bit longer than you. I'm just going to say a little bit, just a little bit longer than you, that really we have an opportunity as lenders, you know, to sort of flip the script. You know, it's always been the agents are the hub of the wheel, and there's all these spokes, and we're just a spoke. You know, there's title and home inspector and insurance, and, you know, they're all spoke, and then the agents in the middle and mortgage. You know, they need us now more, I think, than they ever have with the kind of market there is. A great loan officer makes an agent excellent. I mean, there's not an excellent agent out there that isn't partnering with a great loan officer, because you can't, if you talk to consumers, you talk to agents, they will tell you Brian, I do a lot of stuff with agents now, and they will tell you, hey, my offers are getting approved because my lender partner is literally selling the deal through to the listing agent and making my client really comfortable with the numbers, with everything that's going on. Because let's face it, the consumers are freaking out. Ed Brem, and Brian, I'm sure you remember Ed. He's got his camera on over there. He likes texting me wacky stuff. You know, in the morning, he'd be like, yeah, Joel, this one just went 120 over. You know what I mean? Like the buyer, you know, there's like an escalator with no top. It just kept going. And then the buyer got it 120 over. You know, you can't mentally handle that unless you have a great agent and a really good lender explaining to you pencil selling. Brian, the other thing I've noticed is, you know, I've always been a big pencil selling guy, you know, a calculator and a pen, and so many loan officers can't do that. Boy, the loan officers that know how to pencil sell right now are cleaning up, and the other loan officers are just falling away because the agents need partners that actually know what they're doing. Everyone, let me tell you all this too. You know, Brian like answers his phone. Like he picks his phone up. I mean, his partners know he is findable, and if he's not, someone on his team is going to pick it up. Brian doesn't have an out of office message. Okay, just so you all know. So Brian Minkow was the #1 loan officer for years and is top 10 forever, okay, probably, or top 5, whatever it is, doesn't matter, units, does not have an out of office message. Okay, just so you all know. So those of you all that think you're important enough to have out of office in your email, you're basically telling your agent partners you don't want their business.
Right.
Okay. And the best loan officers in the country all roll like Brian. They don't roll any other way. But Brian's the guy that's going to take your business if you're not on it. Okay. And he's not going to have to work that hard to take it. Okay. He's just going to do all the right stuff. Brian, what would you tell a loan officer now that's been in their office, sitting on their ass? They get up, they turn around, look at their chair. It looks like an imprint of their ass. Okay. They're in a market where a lot of people are vaccinated, like Southern California, it's very high numbers. The agents are looking to get out, do stuff. What would you tell them to start flipping your business purchase right now? What are a couple of things they need to do like right now? Because I'm already hearing little baby rumbles, Brian, of, I don't want to say layoffs, but moving bodies around a little bit. There are loan officers on here right now that have been closing 8 to 10 units a month that think they're the bee's knees. 8 of them are refis. And those refis go away. Now their LOs that close 2 loans a month. You know what happens in the company, right, Brian? I know you got a lot of people roll you. You take an LOA and you go, yeah, you don't have access to that LOA anymore. Your LO freaks out. You go, sorry, bro, you're not really doing any loans. You can just do that yourself. I need to put that LOA over here with this guy doing a bunch of purchases. What do you say to people? Well, give me some good hints, some good things so they can turn it around and stay where they are. Every loan officer I talk to, Brian, is like, your goal is to never drop volume. So if you were doing 20 refis, you better replace them with 20 purchases.
Right. I mean, you know, right now in this market, you've got to show your, you know, realtor partners why they should use you, right? Because right now, during the pandemic, it was like shooting fish, right, in a barrel. It was easy. Everybody was hitting these insane figures. It's the ones that, you know, show the realtor how important you are. Every transaction I do, I am always reminding the realtor and I'm reminding the buyer why they're using Brian and my squad. And that's because we get it done, right? And, you know, during a transaction, something comes up. I don't know what it is. Something's going to come up. You got to be able to get on the phone immediately and say, hey, here's what's happening. Don't worry. Here's what I got handled, blah, 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 blah. Not to do it the other way where the realtor's calling you going, hey, I heard blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden you're going, oh, well, you know, you got to get in front of it right away, because if you don't get in front of it, it's going to run you over. And then what happens when it does run you over, then what happens is they call myself. And then, you know, I'm like, get out of the way. I got it. Let me get it done. And that transaction gets done here. And then that realtor isn't their realtor anymore. It's mine. And that's why.
Yeah, you know, Brian, it's one of the things I've been dealing with a lot with my one-on-one guys. I work with their teams, you know, because they're doing 50, 60, 70, 80 units. They're guys like you. And I'm working with their teams. One of the big things we talk about are these save deals coming in, because how they whack out the team and how we handle them, and you know, just the whole process of a save coming in to the system. And it's amazing how I'm watching, because I'll look at the ops people. I won't let the loan officer talk. I'm like, don't talk. I just want to hear from the ops people. Okay, we closed 72 loans last month. How many of those were saves? And so I'm asking each month, and it's going up. And so what that's telling me is the good loan officers are taking more market share, and the idiots are already starting to fall off because they don't know what they're doing. They can't handle themselves in this market. And I'm watching these guerrilla LOs, you know, male, female, it doesn't matter. Just take market share, because believe me, when they take a save, that other loan officer is in big trouble. Because like my crew is going to get it. You know, they're not just going to sit around. They're going to go take that relationship down. And I'm assuming you're seeing the same thing. Your percentage of saves just keeps going up, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, I would say right now about 25% of the volume I do now is because either the loan officer can't handle it, or the loan officer works for, you know, Wells Fargo, Citibank, Bank of America, who they all suck, right? So they don't get it done. And then what happens is when the agents write a 21-day escrow and they're going to use Wells Fargo, you can forget it. You can forget it. They're never going to get it done. Never, 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 never. So 10 days in, they're like, hey, call this guy. I don't give a shit about what the interest rate is. You want the house? Call Brian. He'll get it done. And that's what happens all the time. And then, you know, that person or those people are using Wells, and they call me and go, hey, well, you know, Wells Fargo offered me this interest rate. I'm like, well, that's fantastic. But if you can't get the house, who cares what the interest rate is? Right? If I'm an eighth higher, a quarter higher, it is what it is. Do you want the house? I mean, I can't, you know, do what Wells Fargo does in regards to interest rate. But if you want the house, I'll make it happen. And we just go that way. And then what happens is by the time we're done, those individuals love me, love the agent, and we just keep going, you know?
Yeah. And just so you know, everybody, Brian he's not going deep into it because we don't have a ton of time on this, but his agent partners are helping a lot as well. So when his agent partner gets that boomerang call, that bounce back, hey, you sent me this guy, Brian, he's like a quarter higher, you know, or whatever. The agent goes, yeah, and you care why you couldn't get your loan done over here. Brian's going to get your loan done. So he's having help there, but that help was earned over years of deepening that relationship. Okay. So I want to make sure I always mess around with this, Brian, when I have a huge producer like you on the phone. Again, people check out. They're like, oh, he's got a team. He doesn't even know the last name of the borrowers. I don't interview those kind of people. So everyone knows if someone's on here, they're actually doing the loans, they know that. But I just want you to know, Brian worked very hard to be able to have that conversation. He didn't wake up in the morning 23 years ago and he just started handing it over. That's not the way it worked at all. Brian, what do you think real quick? Because I've been trying to keep these calls to 30 minutes, even though I know everybody loves seeing you. What do you think about the market through the end of the year? I'll just give you mine. I think we're going to see refis pretty much gone by the end of the third quarter. I think the fourth quarter will be a lot of LOs going back to sell cars. I don't see the purchase market falling off for a long time. I think it's all about inventory and can we build more houses or can we find more houses? What do you think about through the end of the year and maybe 2022? And we'll let you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think the purchase market's gonna stay where it is. I think values might go down to where they were, like maybe October of 2020. I think we're going to see a little bit. I don't think much. I think the refis are going to slow, although I will tell you guys out there, the cash out refis are going to go like this. I think they're going to go high because right now the cash out refi is pretty good right now. But I think that the purchase market's going to hang pretty good. I think as long as the interest rates kind of stay where they are, I think they might go up a quarter-ish over the next, towards the end of the year. I don't think the rates are going to go like this. And I don't think rates are going to go like this. I think we're going to be a little bit like this. And I think that's healthy. I think that's healthy. I think the most important thing to do is keep in communication with your realtor partners, your lawyers, your CPAs, and continue to let them know that interest rates are still historically low, blah, 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 blah. And just make sure that the most important thing is get the client approved up front. And the other thing is let the client and the realtor know how important you are without sounding, arrogant. You need to let them know how important you are in this.
So what Brian is saying, what you've heard everyone say as far as BICs and PPs. I'm not even going to ask Brian right now because we're out of time, but Brian's got not a drawer full. He's got a room full of people that are completely approved. All he needs is a contract. I mean, he's a mini company with how many of those people he's probably got sitting around out there. And, that's really working the BIC PP system. And, I'll leave you all with this. Think about, today, did I deepen a relationship with an agent or did I develop a new one? And if I didn't, I failed. And how many BICs do I actually have right now? How many? Remember, the number is about 75%. You want to close 10 loans a month, you need to have about 14 BICs at all times. Okay, you want to close Brian's numbers. That's why I said he's got a truck full of them, because you need to have a truck full to close those kind of numbers. Brian, I work with a guy who closes consistently, probably closes about 70 loans a month. He's always got 100 plus people completely done. LOXs, large deposits handled, everything. He's like, give me the contract and I'll close you. Brian is not a big social media guy. If you were looking for him, you're not going to find him. But Brian, if people had questions or wanted to reach out, is email okay?
Yeah,
if we put, Josh, can you put Brian's email in the chat? It's brian.minkow.
Sure.
Homebridge. It's just homebridge.com, right, John? There's nothing, right, Brian? There's nothing you can do, right?
Yeah.
Brian.minkow, there's a W at the end of that, at homebridge.com. Brian, by the way, is really a great guy. He's a super nice guy. He loves helping people. He's not lying. If I text him at 5 o'clock in the morning, he always texts me back. I just laugh every single time. But if you have questions or whatever, he'll be glad to answer them. He's just not a social media guy. So you're not gonna be able to hit him up on Facebook Messenger or on Instagram. So everyone, I'm super excited. I got to share some time with Brian Minkow. He doesn't do this a lot. Not everybody can find him. Like you said, he's in his office actually working. Brian, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hopefully I'll get to see you soon. Not
Thanks,
moving around again.
Appreciate it, bud.
Okay, everybody. See you all next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you later, guys.